Rick Tobin from Premier Hotel Realty. I'm here with attorney Gary Singer of Gibraltar Title, and we're going to do our second in our expert interview series. We're going to be talking about closing transactions with foreigners and a little bit of the nuances there. We are live on Periscope, so if you have questions, feel free to put them in and we'll try and address those questions. So, Gary, why don't you tell us a little bit about your company first?
And hello, Periscope out there, to any viewers out there, thanks for logging in. I'm the owner of Gibraltar Title. I'm a board-certified Florida real estate attorney, and I also write a nationally syndicated column called Ask the Real Estate Pro, which is in over 400 media outlets. I've been practicing law primarily in real estate and civil litigation and closings, of course, which is why we're here today. Through what I stopped counting several years ago at 40,000 closings. So while I haven't seen it all, I've seen a lot of stuff, and we do both residential and commercial all throughout the state of Florida.
So what I'm seeing in my business, selling commercial properties primarily, is a lot of foreign transactions.
Sure.
Do you see that?
Yeah, I definitely do. Down here in Florida especially, you see a ton of commercial stuff, a lot of offshore money's coming in.
So as a title agent, and this is so important to us realtors because we want to see the deals close, what are common mistakes that you see when you have a transaction that involves foreigners?
From the title agent and attorney perspective, it's a very different animal. From the real estate perspective, it's probably a little easier because you're still selling houses, but we have to deal with more issues. Number one, they're typically, if they're going to get loans, it's going to be different type of loans, different type of lenders to deal with that you wouldn't see in the traditional, domestic loan. In addition to that, a lot of foreign buyers are buying and sometimes selling, and they're doing it in business entities instead of their own name. So they might be buying in a limited liability company, and then with that comes certain issues, which we can get into the depth you want, like FIRPTA, withholding for United States taxes, and not only that, but also how to structure the deals so that it fits well for their situation. Because what a lot of people don't realize is that every country has a different tax treaty with the United States.
So is that something that you help them with, how to structure their buying entity?
Yes, we do. And an important part with structuring the buying entity isn't necessarily so much how they're buying it, but what the purpose of the property is going to be. So you have to take into consideration what they're going to do with it. Are they going to buy it to lease it, in which case you may want a certain structure, or are they going to buy it to sell it, in which case you want to make sure that you can navigate the United States and their country's tax as well. And then, of course, the third consideration is a lot of countries, if you're from a foreign country and you pass away while owning it, the estate tax issue, because it's a United States property, can be massive. So oftentimes, if it's a more expensive property, you have to take that into account, because what you don't want to have happen is have this foreign buyer buy the property, pass away, let's say they buy $1 million property, and then all of a sudden they lose $500,000 to the United States government because they didn't take into consideration how to deal with that situation.
So if they plan early and talk to somebody like you early, they can avoid or minimize that tax implication?
And it's absolutely key.
Okay. One of the other things that we see, that I've seen as realtors, is the lead time when we have a foreign, somebody who's going to sign documents outside the country. Do you have that come up as well?
The one issue with it that you want to make sure from the real estate side is you're dealing with a title company that knows how to deal with people that aren't local. Like everything else, different title companies have different things they're good at and bad at. Some title companies are very local, whereas others are better at dealing with distance closings. So we've done, and not to make it an advertorial, but we've done so many closings with people in different countries that we've learned how to do it via electronic means, DHL, FedEx, have the right international, like overnight accounts, to make it easy, just because we've had to develop that skill set to deal with foreign buyers.
Terrific. And talking about foreign buyers also leads to a discussion about foreign currencies.
Sure.
So do you see problems as exchange rates change and vary when somebody puts a deposit down and then 30, 60, 90 days later may have to come up with the rest of the money?
Yeah, I've seen difficulties more on their end on cash deals of coming up with some of the money. Fortunately, the exchange rates have been, very favorable towards the United States. So you're seeing some stuff potentially going the other way, so they're cashing out and getting some money. It's one of the things that needs to be taken into consideration. Though generally speaking, the exchange rates don't fluctuate enough in a typical sales cycle. What you do see a lot of, though, is when a foreign country destabilizes, such as Brazil, for example, that's had some problems of late. You do see a lot of influx in buyers, which not only can affect the foreign market getting a loan, there's only so many loans necessarily go around, the pricing of the properties they like, but also how quickly they may need to get their money out of their country. And that's where the exchange of the currency problems do come in.
And are you seeing problems with people actually getting money out of different countries?
You got to get it out early. As it devalues, I mean, my understanding in some of these situations, you get fiat currency almost, where you need a wheelbarrow of money to buy a gallon of milk. So, you got to get your money out early if you think there's going to be problems. One of the nice things about investing in the United States in real property, it's probably the most stable place to put your money. What people don't realize, they go, oh, but what about the boom bust we just had a few years ago? But what people don't realize, if they would look at the historic trend, Florida has gone up 4 to 7% per year since they started tracking it in the 1970s and even before. Now you take into account the boom, and then you take into account the bust, and back where we are now, you can draw a line like it never happened. So those were temporary large fluctuations, but still that overall trend is that 4 to 7% growth. Now if you take a foreign country where the money is becoming less valuable and a stable country like the United States where you're still growing in money, it's a very safe place to keep your money if you're a foreign buyer.
And we're seeing that as a huge draw ourselves to bring foreign buyers here, bringing money here to the United States because of the stable economy, getting it out of a lot of countries with a lot of inflation. Our buyers that have bought maybe 2 years ago have seen not only great return on their investment, great increases in value, but great increases in the dollar strength against their currency.
Oh yeah,
So
I mean
it's been exciting.
It's been
for us.
great. And one of the things that's worth mentioning, and not to give you a plug, but when you're that foreign buyer, you need to deal with not only title companies but also lenders and real estate agents that are used to dealing with the intricacies of the foreign buyer, because it's not the same thing.
Good, and I don't mind you giving me a plug.
But it's true. I mean, it's true. You need that experience because the timing is different, the needs are different, the problems that come up are different. And like anything else, if you have a problem with your ear, you don't go to a foot doctor.
Right. So I want to thank you for your participation in this interview. No, so if you do have questions on Periscope, send those in. If you'd like to email us, we're going to have our email address and contact information for both of us on the video. Hopefully that's up there. And we'd also like to get emails about what topics people would like to hear in the future. If you have a topic you'd like to ask about, if you are an expert, you'd like to be on one of the interviews, if you know somebody that you think would be a great person to have on the interview in the future, we'd love to hear about that. So I want to thank you and Gary, and thank you.
Appreciate you having me on.
Viewers, and we'll see you the next time.